So this week we're going to actually talk about the ESP32, how to get it so that you can actually write code for it and send code. We're going to talk about the I2C or I2C serial communication bus. And we're going to actually walk through the calibration process for the SI5351. Time we're done, we'll have some of the basic pieces to start with the transceiver or the transmitter portion. So we'll be able to generate our signal, and we'll be able to display to us what our frequency is and do some prompts like that. So let's get started. Let me get this going. Just waiting for it to come up. So our goals tonight is basically to walk through installing the USB drivers for the ESP32 development module, understand how to write a simple Hello World program and upload it to the ESP32. We'll use the serial monitor so that you can actually see how to write out statements, so that you can actually see where you're at in your program. Then we'll look at how to use how to interface to the SI5351 with the I2 or I2C pinouts, and then we'll walk through calibrating it. And I'm going to be using the tiny SA to measure the frequency. Apparently my frequency counter doesn't seem to want to read, so you'll get to see the tiny SA in action. And it has a nice little program that allows you to operate it from your desktop. And then we'll walk through the libraries needed and how to actually send text to the OLED display. So the first thing you got to, as we're talking about the USB device drivers, there are two chips that are used on the dev boards that you're going to find out there. Normally, if they come from Espressif, they're using the Silicon Labs CP2110 USB UART or serial driver. The other ones you're going to find is a Chinese, I think it's CH3410. So the way to find out what you have is, you'll notice just above the USB port on the dev module, there's going to be a nice big square chip. And you need to basically look and check to see what it says. In this case here, on the ones that come from Espressif that we get through Mouser, it's using the Silicon Labs CPI chip. So if you've got it's hard to read, you'll need a magnifying glass. I know I could not read it very easily. And once you figure out which ones you need, you can go. I'll have links out here, and I'll put up this presentation up in the file section. But there's the links to the Silicon Labs driver, and then to the CH341 series USB drivers. I've used them both on Windows devices. I haven't had much problems with them at all. Not like back in the days when we were working with FTDI and the other chip, because they sometimes would work, or you'd have to uninstall them, reinstall them. I haven't ran into that. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to walk you through a video on downloading the Silicon Labs USB driver. So you go out to that link that's in the presentation. You're going to click on downloads, and you're going to look for, if you're on Windows, you're going to use the universal driver. They do have a Mac driver. Once you click on it, it'll download. And then what we'll go to is go back to your downloads folder and unzip it. Extract it. And then what I normally do, since it doesn't have an exe, you're going to go up there to the INF file, right click on it, and you're going to pick install. And then tell it, click to open it, and then it will go ahead and install the driver for you. Once it comes down and says it's done, then we're pretty much done there. And what we can do then is we can actually plug in our ESP32. And what you want to first do is bring up Device Manager. And then when you plug it in, you'll see Device Manager will show and hide the display as it goes through and reads it. And then if you look under ports, COM, you should see a Silicon Labs USB to UART. Shoot, it jumped back here a little bit. Let me bring it back over here and pause it so you guys can see it. So it should come up with a USB to UART bridge, and that COM port, you'll need to remember that because you may need it in order to tell Platform IO how to actually access it and what port to send up to the printer, or I mean up to the ESP to talk to it. And you'll see me do that tonight as we go through some of these sample programs. And we'll kind of walk through that. Let's go back over to our, we've done that. We determined the ESP32 COM port. And so now we're ready to start looking at, let's write our very first program. So let me jump over here to VS Code. Does anybody have any questions about installing the device drivers or how to get to Device Manager to find your COM port?
Not so far.
Okay.
Hey, Jim, does it matter if you use the Windows driver or the universal Windows driver? What's the kind of the difference between that?
Actually, I don't think there's much difference between the two. The universal, I think, it works better across more machines.
Okay.
Is the only thing. I've always been told to always use the universal driver over a specific driver.
Okay. I just thought maybe it had a lot more overhead or something like that for any one machine.
Not that I know of.
Okay, thanks.
Now, let me see.
Does there happen to be a Linux USB driver?
Let's go check. Let me go back and we can check and see if there is.
Click on the on software. You see a Linux 2.6 VCP revision, and then there's a Linux 3.4.5 VCP driver under that.
Where did you see that? Oh, show more software.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here, let me just share my browser. So yeah, there is there's a 3.4.5 and the virtual. So they do have Linux ones. I will say, hopefully you're good at Googling, because sometimes things will work great with Linux, sometimes they won't. But I know a lot of people are using Macs, which is really nothing more than Debian, right? So you should, those same drivers that they say for Linux should work without any problem. They might have some extra steps on installation, but you should still be good.
Well, Mac is a BSD, so I'm not too sure about that, but I'll try.
Okay.